I think I can say that this is the best budget phone for around 100,000 naira. On paper, spec for spec, no phone beats the Spark 10 Pro. But that's on paper. Being completely honest, when I saw the leaks and promo videos for the Spark 10 Pro, I thought it was ugly. But this starry black color, which frankly looks more blue than black, has kind of grown on me. The other color is white, but honestly the starry black is definitely the better looking one. It kind of reminds me of the Camera 19 Pro with its tall, boxy form factor, but then has this triple camera looking iPhone inspired camera module. But on a second look, you see that it's only 2 cameras and a flash. It does have a sort of glass back panel. They've messed around with it and given it a different feel. It's really soft. It's also matte and it hides fingerprint marks and smudges really well. But as you've probably noticed, the camera module on the other hand is glossy, so a fingerprint magnet. It's a part of the phone that you don't touch as much, so it's not entirely bad. The part of the phone that you would be touching though are the sides, and thankfully they went with a matte finish. It definitely looks and feels more expensive than it actually is. If someone told you they bought this phone for around 200k, you'd be like, okay, that sounds about right. I also have the Galaxy A14 here with me. It costs a little bit more than the Spark 10 Pro, but if you put these phones side by side face up, you'll think the Samsung is way cheaper, probably in a different budget class. The hole punch cutout for the selfie camera definitely added to the beauty of this phone. As far as the specs go, it's a 1080p 90Hz LCD panel. There's still a bit of chin at the bottom, but the bezels on the sides and top is very fine, especially when compared to the A14. Again, for the price, this is really good. It's sharp, colorful, it's also a large display at 6.8 inches, so a wide enough area to watch content. Also, because of its higher refresh rate display, scrolling and gaming is a tad bit smoother. I don't have the exact numbers for its maximum brightness, but outdoors under direct sunlight, it's very visible. Again, for that price of around 100k, the display ticks all of the boxes. The Spark 10 Pro comes with Android 13 and iOS version 12.6 out of the box. It looks very similar to previous TECNO phones with a couple subtle adjustments. This one's not really new, but in the homepage there's a tab titled Suggestions, and that basically shows apps that the phone thinks you're more likely to open. So it learns your usage patterns and uses that data to predict what you would like to open. A swipe down on any part of the screen takes you to search. A swipe down from the top right takes you to your control center. It has been shared into 3 compartments: your connections, brightness and volume controls, and then everything else. Also, you can now swipe up in any part of the screen to open the app drawer and then swipe down to close it. The app drawer remains the same. It's arranged vertically and alphabetically. Now, because this is running Android 13, I was hoping that we would get some Material U type customizations. But we don't. Kinda. The closest I've seen is in the notifications panel and keyboard. It does match the wallpaper you use, but it's not the complete makeover that we get with Material U. There's also the new media control center with these swirly lines. Looks really cool. But that's kind of the story with software. It's not a complete makeover. So if you didn't like TECNO's iOS skin before, this wouldn't change your mind. But if you loved it before, well, this is that, but better. This comes with the Helio G88 and 8GB of RAM. Like, that on its own is ridiculous for this price point. But you still get an extra 8GB using virtual RAM, which takes it up to 16GB. That's even more ridiculous. But note that virtual RAM isn't the same thing as hardware RAM. It basically takes parts of your storage and uses it as RAM, and that helps make memory management better. So this wouldn't be as fast as a phone with 16GB of hardware RAM, but nonetheless, 8GB of hardware RAM is typically what we see in higher mid-range devices, and to see that on a more affordable phone is nuts. The G88 is set to be good for gaming. I don't game as much, but when I played FIFA Mobile and Rebel Racing, my 2 favorite games, I had 0 issues. I'm still testing, but when compared to the Galaxy A14, the Spark 10 Pro played those 2 games much better. And even comparing the GPU performance according to benchmarks, the Spark 10 Pro is 2 times more powerful, which reiterates my point that for 100k, the Spark 10 Pro is doing too much. After about 15 minutes of gaming, it did start to warm up, especially around the camera module. It wasn't anything crazy, but I just wanted to point that out. With regards to multitasking, it does a very decent job. It holds apps in the background pretty well. Apps open relatively quickly as well, so I would say performance is very fine. Now of course, this wouldn't be as snappy as a flagship device, but for this price, I don't think there's anything as fast. At least for now. Like I mentioned earlier, there are only 2 cameras on the rear. The third ring is a dual LED flash. The top is a 50 megapixel wide sensor and the second is an AI lens, so really only 1 camera. The front-facing camera is 32 megapixels. It also has dual LED lights, which has 3 levels of brightness. These are a couple selfies I took with it. I think HDR, exposure, color are all on point. It isn't as sharp as I thought it would be, but other than that, it's really good. Let me know what you think about the selfies in the comments. The main camera has even more megapixels. And just like the selfie camera, it handles dynamic range, color, HDR, exposure really well. It's also sharper because we have more megapixels to work with. And on top of that, there's a 48 megapixel mode which has even more detail. I also took some pictures at night and I think they also came out okay. Night mode is pretty decent. For video, it maxes out at 2K resolution, but even at 1080p, there is no stabilization. Video quality in well-lit conditions are actually quite good, but because of that lack of stabilization, it does take a hit on quality. Cameras are a solid B, maybe even B+. 5000 mAh is the norm, and that's what we get on here. It's just as good as you'd expect. With average use, this would last you for a whole day, but if you plan on gaming for hours, you need a charger. 30 minutes of gaming for me took about 11%. This was with mobile data turned on. So that should mean in about 5 hours, you need to plug it in. But then who games for 5 hours straight? So your phone's battery is dead and you need to charge it. Well, this comes with an 18-watt charger complete with a brick inside the box. Samsung. Now the charger isn't fast, somewhere between 2 to 3 hours to juice this bad boy up from 0 to 100%. Here are just a few more things about the Spark 10 Pro. It's NFC enabled, it's also a 4G device. It has just 1 speaker, so not that loud, and also 1 microphone. It has a Type-C port as well as a headphone jack, and its fingerprint reader is on the power button. I think that's about it. It gives you great value for money. Like if this costs 130,000, it would still be giving you great value. Great specs on paper, and for the most part, they translate to real world use. That's the TECNO Spark 10 Pro, the new budget king. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.